Genotype refers to the genetic constitution of an individual in Nigeria. Understanding one's genotype is essential, especially in the context of relationships and reproduction, as incompatible genotypes can lead to serious health issues for offsprings. The most common genotypes in Nigeria are AA, AS, and SS. Genotype compatibility comes into play when prospective couples consider marriage, as some combinations carry a risk of passing on genetic disorders, particularly the sickle cell disease. Understanding what genotype is, compatibility, myths, and misconceptions would be the basis of healthy living today. I am Aisha Salihu, and joining us on the program is Dr. Hezekiah, who is a consultant hematologist in Abuja. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Let's start with the background. What exactly is a genotype?
A genotype is a test that is done in the lab in order to determine the genetic characteristic of a protein or a product that is synthesized in the body. In other words, every part and organ and cell in the body of a human being is determined by a gene, which is that small part of a cell that controls the production and synthesis of the various organs. So it's a test that is done to determine the genetic composition of an organ or a protein or a cell, if you want. So in regards to sickle cell disease, when we say hemoglobin genotype, is a test that is done in order to determine which type of hemoglobin an individual has. And there are various variants of hemoglobin. There are normal. The normal hemoglobin is hemoglobin AA, and there are several hundreds of hemoglobin variants. Some of them most of them do not have clinical significance, but a few of them, like the sickle cell gene, or hemoglobin S variant, hemoglobin Z variants, they have clinical implications. And when they occur in combination or as homozygous in double form, they bring about disease. They bring about signs and symptoms.
Okay, doctor, I was actually going to come to the types of genotypes. You have stated the variants. Now, this would now bring me to the point of how we can link the types, the variants, and also the most compatible genotypes.
Okay.
Doctor, did you get my question?
Yeah.
I'd like to
so I am saying,
yeah, vis-a-vis the variants and the types.
Okay, you want me to go ahead to talk about the variants?
Yes, and also the most compatible genotypes regarding types too.
Okay, so in terms of compatibility, the sickle cell hemoglobin S is a recessive gene. The hemoglobin S gene is recessive, so it has to occur in double form. That is, it has to be inherited from both parents, mother and father, for a person for an individual to have the sickle cell disease. So when we are talking about compatibility, now the individuals who have a hemoglobin S gene, or what we can say the sickle cell trait, their hemoglobin variant is hemoglobin AS. That is the sickle cell trait. They don't have the disease. They are only carriers. They don't have signs and symptoms. They are essentially normal individuals. They don't have any problem. So but those who have AA, they are normal individuals. So in terms of compatibility, when it comes to marriage, any individual that has hemoglobin AS should not marry an another individual with hemoglobin AS, because they'll have a potential of giving birth to an offspring with hemoglobin disorder, that is with sickle cell disease. Is that okay?
Did I get you
But
correctly? Did you say
any
hemoglobin is
individual with
AA and AA?
AA and AA, they are compatible. They don't have any problem. Individuals with hemoglobin AA, and hemoglobin AS, they are compatible. They can actually marry each other. But an individuals or two potential couples with the carrier status, that is hemoglobin AS and hemoglobin AS, they are not compatible. Or an individual with hemoglobin AS and hemoglobin AC, which is another variant of hemoglobin. When they marry, they are not supposed to be married because they are not compatible. If they get married, they are likely to give birth to offspring that have sickle cell disease. That is, if they happen to give birth to an offspring that has hemoglobin SC, that is sickle cell disease too. So in terms of compatibility, in summary, what we are saying is that hemoglobin AA and hemoglobin AA individuals, they can marry. Hemoglobin AA and hemoglobin AS or hemoglobin AC individuals can actually marry without any problem.
Okay, doctor. Now, I'd like to hear from you. Why do you think it's important for individuals to know their genotypes?
Yeah, it is important for individuals to know their genotype because of the possibility, in order to avoid, giving birth to children with sickle cell disease.
Okay, so
So
apart
this
from sickle cell
table
disease
that
disorder,
is
what are some
displayed
of the
on the
most
screen is showing us the probabilities. As we mentioned earlier, hemoglobin AA and hemoglobin AA, who are normal individuals. That is supposed to be the normal hemoglobin variant that human beings should have, that normal individuals should have. When they marry, they are okay. They can marry, and then all their children will be hemoglobin AA without sickle cell disease. And then for individuals with AA and AS, they can actually marry, but they can only give birth to children with a trait. 75% of their children, per pregnancy, they have a 75% chance of giving birth to a hemoglobin AA child, and then 25% of giving birth to hemoglobin AS child, that is the carrier type, per pregnancy.
Okay, doctor. Apart from the sickle cell disease that comes with incompatible genotype, I beg your pardon, what are some of the most common genetic disorders that couples should be concerned about when assessing genotype compatibility? Apart from the sickle cell disease.
Well, in Nigeria, they are not so common. There are some metabolic disorders, such as thyroid disorders, thyroid hormone disorders, hormonal disorders, and then some disorders like that are known as phenylketonuria is also a metabolic disorder. Those are some of the inheritable disorders, genetic disorders that can be seen in Nigeria.
Okay,
But the
so
most common one is the
do
sickle cell disease.
how do dominant and recessive traits influence genotype compatibility in relationships?
Okay, for dominant genes, you know, you don't need the two parents to carry the genes. Is that okay?
Yes.
And one parent who is carrying the gene, you know, can pass it on to to their offspring, and that single gene is enough, you know, to cause the disease. You know, so then there is also a hematological disorder, the hemophilia, too, that that is also relatively common, that can be inherited.
Okay, now this now brings me to a very important question. How accurate is current genotype testing in determining compatibility, and what are the limitations?
Okay, the tests that are available for screening for sickle cell disease, or carrying out the genotype, the most common one that is available in Nigeria, that is the hemoglobin electrophoresis, that is available in even in general hospitals and in most labs, you know, is actually accurate, you know, in determining the hemoglobin genotype from when the baby is above is 1 year, you know, or 6 months and above, because that time the hemoglobin F has disappeared, you know. But the challenge with that hemoglobin electrophoresis is that it requires power, and then it requires competency, very highly skilled individuals to interpret the results. So those are the areas we have challenges. So if we're running the test, there's power outage, you know, it can affect the results and it will not be accurate. And we know that power outage is a common problem that we have in Nigeria. And then the problem of interpretation too is an issue. So in terms of accuracy, if we, under normal condition and with very good hands and well-trained laboratory scientists, you know, we can have good results. And when it is done at the right time, then we have other test methods, such as the point of care test. You know, these are monoclonal antibody, immunologically based tests using monoclonal antibodies. They are more accurate, you know, than the hemoglobin electrophoresis. Then we have the quantitative tests, such as high performance liquid chromatography. They are also more accurate, and then the isoelectric focusing. But these last two I mentioned, the HPLC and the isoelectric focusing, they equally also require highly trained and skilled personnel. But the newer test methods, point of care test methods, are simpler to use, and then they don't require electricity, and they are easy to interpret them. So, and they are very accurate. So many tests have been done within Nigeria and outside Nigeria about their accuracy and how precise they can be. And they are very, very good tests that can be used to check the genotype of an individual. And some of them can actually be used for babies from zero, from birth, from the day they are giving birth, you know, to screen for hemoglobin genotype.
Okay, Okay, doctor. Now, that's quite an elaborate explanation regarding screening of genotype for babies. Now, we have seen cases of people saying they got wrong results. I mean, couples now, when they had their genotype tested for, that's prior to marriage. What do you think could be the cause of such?
So just like I mentioned earlier, it could be due to the power fluctuations when these tests are being run, especially if you are using the hemoglobin electrophoresis machine, and then the capacity, the proficiency of the scientist that is running the test is very important. They have to know how to interpret the results accurately. So that is why you find out that people go from lab to lab and they can get different results, because of these factors.
Okay. Now, despite the importance of genotype knowledge, you would agree with me that many Nigerians still lack proper awareness. I mean, studies show that a large percentage of individuals do not know their genotype or the significance of genotype testing before marriage. Now, I'd like to know what strategies can be implemented to increase, public awareness about the broader applications of genotype testing beyond hereditary diseases like sickle cell disease.
Well, one of the important strategies is public awareness, just like what we are doing now. By setting aside World Sickle Cell Day or World Sickle Cell Month, like this month of September is World Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and thank God for media houses or agencies like your own that are conscious and that are aware of these days and months that are set aside, and making efforts to create more awareness. So this is a very important strategy. Then we can create awareness by conducting health talk or health education in our churches, in our mosques, and then even in schools. We can incorporate this into our educational curriculum. Right from primary school, people should be sensitized, through their curriculum, teaching them that, look, there are these hereditary diseases, genetic disorders that can be inherited from parents. And when the pupils and the students are growing up, they are aware of this. And when they want to get married, they are already aware of it, and they can have themselves screened for these disorders.
In addition to what the doctor has said, it is proper for us to state it out here that World Sickle Cell Day is June 19th, and also the World Sickle Cell Awareness Month is September, which is what we're doing now. And now, let me come back to you, doctor. Can two individuals with incompatible genotypes still have healthy children? And what are the medical options available to them?
Yeah, two individuals with abnormal gene, as we are saying, should try as much as possible that are incompatible, like the two individuals that are having the sickle cell trait or that are carriers, should as much as possible avoid, marrying each other, But if they marry each other, maybe without knowing, there are options. We have prenatal diagnosis. The baby or the fetus can be tested right from the womb, and then if they happen to be a sickle cell disease patient, then like in societies where abortion is allowed, they can they decide to terminate that baby. But in Nigeria, we know that abortion is not allowed. And then, of course, the moral aspect, you know, it is not allowed. So that is one option. Then there is also the in vitro fertilization that right from outside, you know, these babies, the fertilization that have taken place outside, and an affected conception can be sorted out, and then the normal ones can now be implanted into the mother's womb. So those are options, you know, but again, they have to be legal. You know, like in Nigeria, we know that the abortion is illegal. So those are actually not options for us in Nigeria.
Okay, doctor. Now, this now brings me to debunking some myths and misconceptions. I'd like to hear from your perspective what you have learned about, you know, the misconceptions going around genotype and its compatibility, and how prevalent are these myths and misconceptions?
Okay, so one of the misconceptions about genotype is that some people still think that the disease is actually they give it a spiritual undertone. You know, they think that it's their enemies that is attacking them, you know, by passing that disease to their children. That is number one. And then another misconception is that people believe that some still believe that even incompatible couples marry, you know, that they can, if they are lucky, that they can have all their children, or that they can have 50% normal children and then 50% sickle cell patients. So children, you know, so they will say after all they are going to have both normal and sickle cell children, but it is not like that. It is per pregnancy, that chance. So it's possible for a couple who are carriers who got married, and it is possible for them to give birth to all sickle cell disease children. Their children, all of them can have sickle cell disease, you know, and then if they are lucky, all of them may not even have it, you know. So the chance of giving birth to a sickle cell disease child when couples with sickle cell trait get married is per pregnancy. So quite a lot of people have not understood that. So that is a misconception. So those are, and then there's the other misconception. People believe that when you are giving birth, once you are able to survive the childhood period, you know, and you become an adult, that is all, that the disease is gone. It's not like that. It's for life. If you have it, you have it for life, unless you've taken treatment, the stem cell transplantation treatment that can cure the disease. But it is for life from childhood to adulthood. It remains with you. We can only give, you know, medications or drugs that can alter the manifestation of this disease, that can modify the disease.
Thank you so much for clearing that up and also, you know, stating the facts there. And now earlier you talked about, you know, public health education. Now we cannot just stop at that. We also have to extend it to public health initiatives. I'd now like to hear from you. How can public health initiatives increase awareness about genotype testing and compatibility in communities with high rates of genetic disorders, especially in a country like Nigeria?
Okay, like public health initiatives such as policy formulation, you know, And thank God, Nigerian government are doing quite a lot in terms of policy formulation in order to reduce the frequency or the prevalence of sickle cell disease. There are quite a lot that is going on. The sickle cell bill that has been taken to the National Assembly, and then legislation, is one of it, and then policies such as newborn screening. The federal government is working hard. We are aware that government is working hard to begin a newborn screening nationwide. Actually, in the past, about 14 years ago, government had made effort to establish a center of excellence for sickle cell disease management in 6 geopolitical zones, but that has not been very effective. But with this new point of care test that I mentioned earlier, government is trying to reactivate that and to make it universal.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Hezekiah. That's the much we can take from you. Thank you so much for your insights and contribution on this particular subject.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Genotype compatibility is a critical aspect of reproductive health and overall genetic well-being. While the concept is most often discussed in relation to specific genetic disorders, its relevance extends to many areas of medicine. By increasing public awareness and promoting genotype testing, individuals can make informed decisions that affect not only their health, but also the health of future generations. Addressing misconceptions and improving access to genetic counseling are essential steps in ensuring that people understand the importance of genotype compatibility. And that concludes this week's episode of the program, Healthy Living on Trust Television. For comments, contributions, and suggestions, do well to follow and subscribe to all Trust TV's social media handles. Download the Trust TV app on iOS and Android devices across their respective stores and get live updates on the YouTube live stream and the website. Join us next time as we continue to explore subjects crucial to your health and well-being. I am Aisha Salihu. Thank you so much for your time.